Got it. Hello, hello. Join me, join me. Tell me hi. Tell me what you're working on. We got a little bit of a, well, not a late start, but just not as early as I wanted to be. But that's okay. Turns out the world does not revolve around me. So you all will have to let me know if the picture looks okay or similar to what it normally looks like. I'm using a different phone for the camera this week, so I'm curious to see. Thanks, Jackie. Good evening, ladies. California was fun. California was, you know, you figure you're going to take some time off and fly a long ways away. Well, relatively long ways away. And when I do that, I want it to be really, really warm so I can not look so pale. And that's not what we got. We got some great family time. We went to some wineries. We got more family time, but apparently it cleared up as soon as we left. It got beautiful and sunny there, but that's okay. You can wine taste in the rain. Hi, everybody. I'm gonna try, our list is getting pretty long, so I'm gonna try to not say hi to every single person, but I do see a lot of you popping on here. Bonnie's telling me she's working on socks for the grandson who wears a size 16. That's a big shoe. That's a big sock. That's like an entire skein for each foot. So as you're popping on, tell me what you're working on. I'll tell you what I'm working on, but first, get started officially. Welcome to Monday Motivation. Today is November 15th. Can you guys believe that? Halfway through the month. Oh, lots of stuff coming up, and I'm going to talk about some of that soon. I am the owner of the Little Yarn Shop located in downtown Saginaw, Michigan. That's who I am. That's who the shop is. That's where the shop is. Bonnie, I'm getting to that too. Bonnie asked, what am I wearing? I am wearing, I call it Elfie, but I think it's probably pronounced Elf, and it's E-L-F-E. It's a really smartly designed A-line top that's designed to use, sorry, I'm just trying to read my own notes here. 2 different skeins of fingering weight yarn. So let's see if you guys can see the length. It's kind of an A-line. The stripes alternate, well, they don't alternate, but they fade from one to the other in a very mathematical way. I really enjoyed this one a lot. She's a little bit stretched out because she's been up on a mannequin in the corner for a while, but that's okay. It still fits me all right. So I knit the medium size. Size ranges aren't fantastic. It's 36 to 48 inch bust that it fits. And I used 925 yards total. So I had fingering weight yarn that was really good yardage, like, I don't know, 440 yards, something like that, 450 yards. And I used every single inch of it. So the original pattern's written just for little cuffs, little shoulder cuffs, and I had a little bit extra, so I went ahead and tried to replicate the stripes a little bit. But really, I wouldn't recommend inching that close. So, but if you have a skein or two of a yarn that you really love and you don't know what to do with it, this is a great option, something like that. I've just got birds of a feather shawl off the needles, weaving in ends. Let's talk about ends. So I finished. Do you see this beauty right here? How nice that looks. I finished my shawlography and blocked and ends woven in, and lots of ends. Oh, that one snuck around the front. I wanted to talk about weaving in ends a little bit. I know he's a big fan of what he calls the weave and Steven, where you're weaving your ends in as you go, which especially in that last section I did, and I'll show you the whole thing in a second. But before I do, so my method for weaving in the ends is once I've gotten them woven in, I leave, well, I left one here long to show you guys. And now I can't find it. I leave enough of a tail that I can snip. So generally I leave like that much, which you can barely see. Little tiny bits like that. See how little that is? I would recommend leaving more. Like this is a, maybe an inch, half-inch tail. Only because trying to snip these little tiny guys so they don't pop out all over the place is not a very easy thing to do. But I did it, and the little pile wasn't too bad. So, are you ready to see it? I might have to back up a little bit. I might have to back up a lot. Isn't it gorgeous? Let's see. If I get back here, look at how huge that is. I can't even get it all on the screen at the same time. I can't remember. Melissa and I were just talking about what the wingspan on this is supposed to be. Maybe some of those that of you who have done it or have the pattern close by can tell me what his recommended blocking measurements are. I had 6 feet straight, so that's 72 inches, and it was hanging over the edge on each side. I didn't really aggressively block it, but Dreaming Color does tend to relax and stretch nicely, which is why we love it for shawls so much, this smushy cashmere. But so much texture in this thing between these little guys, slip stitches, different kinds of slip stitches, bobbles, garter stripes that are not really garter stripes, brioche. He has an alternative. Jackie, let's not talk about what I'm stuck on. You know what? I thought you weren't going to do the brioche. Did you try and challenge yourself? And then the border. I got a little crazy when I was working on the border and decided I would figure out how long each little stripe took. So I could figure out, I didn't do the math on the total thing, but anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, each of these little stripes took me. So that's 14 rows, 33 stitches each, back and forth and back and forth. This is one of those times where I almost wish it was in stockinette instead of garter, because it would be so much easier for me to knit backwards instead of turning. I'm not very fast purling backwards. I did, however, for those of you that are not to that point yet, I did find it was easier to put my, when I start with an empty needle, put it on a different cord. So instead of, for circulars, instead of having them connected where both you're kind of fighting with all of that extra fabric, I took one tip off and put a stopper on. Melissa says, pattern just says block it and rock it. Okay. Diane, well, take care of your brother. You have to do that. That's okay. What was I saying? Oh, needles. So if you have a spare, whatever, size 5 that you're not using, I just found it was a little bit easier to have each needle on a separate cord. As I was working my way across, it was just a little bit easier to maneuver. Just a thought. So while I have this out, let's talk about a little bit about folding shawls. I don't know if this is the right way. There may not be a right way, but I've never like Googled it to try and figure out, but I wanted to show you how I fold my shawls, especially some that are like this, where it's a symmetrical crescent shawl. So it's got a definite center point, right? I take it and fold it in half. And maybe this is common knowledge, everybody knows, but sometimes I think that, and apparently it's not. So I fold it in half and continue. Fold it again. You pie slice. Okay, so this is different. So fold in half this way, keeping that same edge along the top. Fold in half again. Fold in half again. You now have what is pretty close to a good rectangle to be able to just stack it and go. It lays a lot flatter. I feel like I don't get those really hard creases when I fold it this way, which seems kind of odd, but because I'm not folding along specific lines. I don't know. So that's how I fold my shawls. I think I used to pie slice fold. Jackie, thank you. I'm very happy with it. I love how it turned out. So that's what I finished. I also finished a swatch, and I'm a little bit bummed because I usually just put it in a bin. I was going to start a new sweater for my husband, and it was yarn that I bought out in California, and Karen and I talked about it. It's not a yarn that I have here in the shop. It's not a yarn that I had used before. So I wanted to kind of play around. It is a yarn Karen was familiar with, Shop Mom Karen. For those of you who have met her, you know who I'm talking about. She had used it before. She used to carry it in her shop, and she said it really fluffs. So it's going to change my gauge when I wash it and block it. So, Malcolm, how do I store them? Was it supposed to be a surprise? What, the sweater? You know I'm making you a sweater. We talked about it. That's my husband, for those of you who don't know, the one commenting on there, Rod. Malcolm, I tend to not store very many of them because they're here in the shop. I admittedly have 0 shawls at home. They're all either here or they've been gifted. When I store them here, I will fold them like that and then just kind of put them in those fabric bins. But I don't know, they're also kind of just stashed all over the place around here. So we found a sweater that I thought would work well with my yarn, and I knit a swatch, and it called for 20 stitches over 4 inches on size 6 needles. I usually knit loosely, so I knit on a 6 and a 5. So there's my 6, there's my 5. You can probably tell they're big stitches. I can tell it's my 6 and my 5 because I put these little pearl bump guys in there. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I put 5 pearl bumps up there. Because I remember now, I just did it 2 days ago, but I won't remember for long. So my gauge is on 6s, I'm getting 14 stitches to the inch. And on 5s, I'm getting 15 stitches to the inch. So clearly, this yarn is not going to work for the pattern I want. I mean, I could probably make it work. I could probably drop down to a 2, but on this, I mean, look at that. It's a pretty fluffy yarn. They call it somewhere between a worsted and an Aran. It would be like armor. You wouldn't be able to move in it. So I am on the hunt. I bought enough to make Rod a sweater in one main color, and then I bought one skein of a contrast color. I really wanted to just do this cool little motif. So I'm back to square one on that. But I did finish a swatch. This is why swatching matters. what am I working on? My still water. I finished my other wrap that I was doing, the steel, but I wasn't going to mention it much because it's at home needing to be blocked. I wanted to show that off next week. I'm hoping Bree from Ridiculous Yarns is working on dyeing up our batch of yarn. I keep seeing her post all of this yarn, beautiful yarn drying out in her yard, well, on her deck. And I can't wait to get ours. So I'm hoping by the time next week rolls around, I can show you my finished shawl wrap, but I could also show you the yarn. So this is my still water, making slow progress because I was really trying to get that Stephen West shawl done and blocked for you all. So I'm supposed to have 2 inches of ribbing. Clearly that's more than 2 inches of ribbing. But the other thing she says is you're supposed to end at a full repeat of the cable. And I am not there yet. If I stopped back here, I would have only had like an inch of ribbing. So I have a little bit more to go. But let me see if I can hold this out so you can see the design. Just a little cabley cross. No actual cables, yarn over, knit 2 together, slip, slip, knit. You've heard me talk about this before. If you've been on the live before, this was Marie Green's very first 4-day knit along challenge. I started it July 1st. Clearly not a 4-day pattern for me, but many of you know I get a little distracted. I'm working on that. So that's what I'm working on. I'm trying hard. I got a new book from Malabrigo and it's all on their cotton Verano. So between the Verano that I have and some worsted and DK weight cotton from Universal Yarn, I love their Cotton Supreme. I thought this would be a really good book to have, and I'm having a hard time not casting something on. I really like that. But it has some really neat geometric shapes. Sorry, I can't see the way I normally can on here. A neat faded sweater. A big one. What's this? Oh, it's stripes, but it's hard to tell because the yarns are very close together. A 2-skein shawl that ends up gigantic because 76 at the widest point, it says. You use size 13 needles. Look at that bad boy. You could almost sew that up and make it a little summer poncho. That would be really, really cute. And it takes 2 skeins of yarn. So as we get closer to spring, we'll probably talk about this a little more. Like, look at that one. I love that one too. I even got as far as pulling yarn for this. But now that I'm looking at that, I probably won't pick these colors because they're very similar to what I have. Very similar to what the picture is. And I try to not do that. I try to do something completely different. So I do have a few of these books in stock. If you're interested, they're $21.99. That's what's sitting here staring at me about what I want to work on next. So let's see what else is on my list. Sometimes dyers don't get the colors quite right on things. And we may have talked about this a little bit before, but I had a customer who had special ordered a certain color because we had some, and she fell in love with it. And what was an accident has turned out to be a happy accident because we ended up with some really cool colors. Even though they weren't her colors, they are gorgeous. So I have 2 batches of re-dyed yarn from Dream in Color. It's their Smushy Cashmere. It's from their April pop-up club. You can use my name. Melissa, I don't know what that means. I'm a little out of it. I have 2 different batches from Dream in Color of their April 2021 pop-up. I got one batch that's very close to the original, which is bright and springy, of course, because it's April, but I found some really cool things to go with it. And then there's one more muted. I don't know, I just love them both. So I wanted to give everybody a custom. Okay, I get it. There's this delay in when you guys hear what I'm saying and when I read what you're saying, and it kind of messes me up sometimes. So these have been tucked behind the counter. They have not been out on the shelf. And I wanted to give everybody a first chance at snagging some before they're gone. Again, these are April 2021 pop-up. I have 5 of the brights and 6 of the muted, more greeny ones. So I'll show you one of each, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So can you tell which one's which? Isn't it crazy? These are essentially supposed to be the same yarn. One was intentionally dyed to look a little bit more saturated with the greens and golds, but all the same colors are used in both of these. Isn't that crazy, the difference? Look at that bright pink. So we'll talk about those individually. Diane, recall on the Deshane how long you made yours. I don't remember. I can check though. Melissa, if you write me a note about that, I will, I'll try and check that after. So if there is anything that you want throughout the live, put it in the comments, let us know what you want, how many you want, whether you want it shipped or to pick up. Hi, Cora. Didn't mean to send it. Okay. Well, you did. You can still ask the questions. So April 2021 pop-up. This is what it was supposed to look like, or this is what it did look like back when they dyed it in April. Isn't that beautiful? All the bright spring colors. But I have these now. I didn't want to wait until spring to show them off to you. Beautiful colors are beautiful colors. That pink is as bright as it looks. It really is. So this is the brighter batch. They're $34.99. I have 5 of them, and that's it. And we will talk about pairings in a minute because I have some really cool ideas. Even the 2 of these together. So here's the second batch, the more muted. It's got these beautiful olive greens. I want to call it dirty green. Sarah over in the bead shop calls it ugly green. We love it. I don't know why she calls it ugly green, but I think she thinks that's how some people feel about it. But it's got these streaks of gold, a little bit of the streaks of the peach in there. Those 2 together would be a really cool, even something like this would be neat. It would be understated. You wouldn't get the real in-your-face bold stripe. But along with these, I did, as I was looking on the wall trying to find things to match up, I found out I have 2 skeins left of March, which was dyed to coordinate with April. So look at that, especially with the brighter one. Look at how beautiful those are. So gorgeous. If that's a little too loud for you though, I'll show you some of what I was playing around with. And I didn't pull all smushy with cashmere, like this is a Malabrigo sock. Malabrigo is changing their, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm all over the place today, but I'm thinking about stuff. Malabrigo is changing the way their yarns are labeled, what you're looking at. So previously, I don't know if I have anything older that had their old label. Previously, they had a big label that said Malabrigo across the front of it. It was easy to see. Now they have this tiny little thing on the back that says Malabrigo. But if you see skeins that have these little blue tags, they're almost, well, at least if you see them in my store, they're Malabrigo, because it doesn't say, it just says sock right on the big area. But this ochre, look at those two together. Look at that. And project ideas, a 2 skein shawl, a 4 skein top, the Delphia, which we've talked about before. Karen talked about this with a lot of people that came into the shop when they were looking at the Saginaw colors. She did hers in my 2 variegated Saginaw colors. But the Delphia would be a great option for a 2-color shawl. As would Stephen West's, what is this one? Daybreak. Thankfully, Julie was kind enough to loan us all these samples. And what you can't see is the shelf where you normally see all the shawls is naked right now. There's nothing on it. We're getting ready for holidays in the heart of the city, which is this weekend. So I'm trying to do some holiday stuff and cleaning. But the Daybreak by Stephen West is a good 2 skein, decent size, not over the top for Stephen West. Slip stitches, stripes, and that's it. If you wanted kind of an intro to Stephen West, just to kind of play around with how he writes his patterns, this would be a great place to start. So just a couple ideas. I have more, of course. I have 1 skein ideas, all kinds of, I'm all over the place. Cora knit a Daybreak, but then came the Pearl Break. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at that one. I haven't knit this one either. Thankfully, I have customers that loan me things. So back to pairings. This bright one, playing around with that, you could go brighter. Look at how that pink pops. It's like a flamingo in the grass. Where's Nancy when I need her, my flamingo girl? Bev, no brioche. Absolutely no brioche in it. This, nope, not that one. If you wanted to really tone this down, but have it contrast, this dark gray is one of a new company of yarn that I'm carrying called Variations. It's one I saw when I was over on the west side of the state and had in the back of my mind and decided it was time to move forward. They do these beautiful tonal semi-solid. I need to Google the difference between tonal and semi-solid. I'm not sure if there is a difference. I would call this tonal. I don't know. I've got to have a dyer on my list at some point who can tell me. Of course, I can Google it, but that's not as fun. I like to hear from you all. So those would be beautiful together. If you put that one though with the more muted, it does look okay. Because there is some of that real dark in there too, but I like it more with this. Look at that. So beautiful. The gray tonal, yes. Julie or Nacho in the variation. Yes, I would love that. Always bring me more samples. I have a bag for you to pick up because I had to take those down. So again, if you want either the brights or the neutrals or even any of the other colors that I held up, throw it in the comments or message me through the shop and let me know. We can pull those aside. The tonals. So this yarn is It kind of looks like some of Malabrigo's tonals that they have. Like, obviously this is not the same color, but kind of a similar technique in terms of what you'll get in variation in color, which is maybe why they called it variations. But the difference is variations yarn is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Malabrigo sock yarn does not have nylon in it. That is very important for some people. I have many customers that don't care one way or the other, whether it's for socks or anything else. The no nylon doesn't bother them. Some have more strong feelings about it. So the variations yarn does have 25% nylon, made in India, and so soft and squishy. Look at how squishy that is. Look at, it's like a little inchworm. So this is one of the colors. They call this sunflower topaz. Fingering weight, 100 grams, 390 yards. So not a bad deal. And $22.99. These would really mix well in with Dreaming Color in terms of how the yarn is going to react. So that's their, what did I say it was? Sunflower topaz. I have 2, 4, 6. They did 8 colors in fingering weight, and then I don't know how many they did in DK, but I didn't get that far. I only got a few of them. And then they have this beautiful brown, a moonstone mist. Isn't that beautiful? Look, there's a little bit of dark in there. Just gorgeous. If you want to add depth to your project, going with something like this versus a heritage solid that is, so the difference is with the solid commercially dyed yarns, for the most part, it's dyed before it's spun. At least that's my understanding. So it's dyed as roving and then it's spun into yarn. These are like a kettle dye after it's already made into the yarn. So it takes the dye differently, a little bit less evenly. That's the Moonstone Mist. The dark gray, Midnight Pearl. Very similar, a little bit lighter than Dreaming Colors Black Pearl, which I can never keep in the shop. And then they have this beautiful light gray. Look at that little streak in there. I just think these are going to be a great addition to my wall. Smoky Diamond. Purest Pearl is a natural color, essentially. What is good about this is if you're using multiple colors in a project and you want to keep all the bases the same, you've got that. Or you could get it and dye your own, have some fun. This pink, Rose Opal. It's just, it's the big sister to the really pale heritage pink that I have here in the shop, just with more personality. Cora, I know the grays are great. Yeah, so this is the Rose Opal, and I think it's just stunning. Then there is Morning Jade. One of these days, I'm going to get my teals and my turquoises right. I think this is more teal. Australian merino wool. That's why it's so soft and squishy too. This red rhinestone ruby. Oh, my red girls are loving this already. Diane, I know. Tammy, they are $22.99 each. Fingering weight, 100 grams, 390 yards. These two have been by far the most popular. This is Lush Lapis. So this like deep sapphire. I used to have I have a whole bunch of sapphire rings, and they are in these tones. Just that beautiful. Look at those. I know my red and blue girls will love those. I have such a hard time. I think these colors look amazing together, but it's so difficult to make something and have it not look patriotic. I struggle with that a little bit. So the red is Rhinestone Ruby. The dark blue is Lush Lapis. Rose Opal, you know, I knew that one was going to go. It's beautiful. And I haven't had a hand-dyed yarn in that light tone in a long time. Then there's Garnet Rhodite. Those beautiful magenta-y tones. And last but not least, Audacious Amethyst. This skein looks like it has the least amount of variation in it. Well, you can still see it, but I think it would be surprising when you started knitting with it, because I do see some difference in the darks and lights there. Audacious Amethyst. It is a good purple. So those are all the fingering weight ones. They come in bags of 5. So that's what I started with here in the shop. Bev, the name of the red, Rhinestone Ruby. They have a couple colors that overlap with their DK. I kind of wish they had done them all in the same colors, but you know. So Smoky Diamond, they did in the DK. So the DK is 100% Australian Merino superwash, 225 yards and 100 grams. And again, $22.99. So look at the difference between that one. DK fingering. Different batches too. So they're going to take the dye a little bit differently each time, but they still have that really neat light dark tone. Oh, Diane, you're going to have to let me know how many you need. Just one is probably not going to be enough for a sweater for your mom. Tammy, the purple. Of course. Here's the purple. For comparison, here is garnet. So amethyst, garnet, rose opal. Maybe if I show them this way, you'll see a little bit of the difference in color a little better. But they're all, you can't go wrong with any of them. The Lush Lapis, there's the DK version. There's the fingering weight version. Oh, they're catching the light pretty good right there. Look at that. We have been talking a lot about DK weight sweaters lately, and I think this yarn would be fantastic for a sport or DK. I think it would do well. For those who like the twist in the yarn that earth yarns have, like their Harvest, their self-striping, the Unique has a high twist to it with a lot of strands. This yarn is the same way for both the fingering and the DK. So you probably can't see that very well. Yeah, this camera's not going to focus in on it, but it's that same real tight twist. This red, they call Midnight Ruby, which I don't know, why wouldn't you keep it kind of the same? The fingering weight is Rhinestone Ruby. The DK is, what did I say? Midnight Ruby. So it's a little bit deeper in tone. So fingering weight, DK weight. Oh, we talked about the gray. Should we talk about the purple or should we talk about the teal? Julie, yes, has great stitch definition. I actually bought myself a skein of this smoky diamond at Threadbenders when I was there as one of the colors to use in my souvenir shawl. So I know my purple girls want to see the purple. Chandra, how many yards in the DK? Good question. 225. Sorry, I have to grab my water. 100% superwash merino, Australian merino, made in India. $22.99 a skein. So my last two colors are Emerald Waters and Almost Alexandrite. Look at this color. I want a sweater out of this like yesterday. It's just gorgeous. So that is Emerald Waters. Almost Alexandrite. Is that purple? It's purple. So compared to definitely a different color purple than the fingering weight. This one looks so much, well, they're vibrant in different ways. So that's the purple. They are gorgeous. Even together, oh, that would be something beautiful. I don't know what I would make. Those two though would be a beautiful cowl, like a mosaic cowl. The Charlotte Hornets. Well, no, but that's all I'm gonna think of, Melissa. Thanks. It is a little bit like that. Yeah. Don't burst my bubble. I like them. I like Charlotte Hornets colors. Okay. So again, if you watch this later, you can always put a comment on there or message me. I do go back and look at the comments after the live is done. Hang on a second. I got to make sure that my earbuds don't die on me. Got to switch from one to the other. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Oh, what would I do without Melissa? I had a moment of panic because, you know, she has a life and things to do. I had a moment of panic of what would I do without Melissa here helping me. But she's here. Oh, Cheryl, you visited this weekend. Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you. So, no sound. I'm hoping that's fixed now. This delay is giving me a hard time. Okay, Melissa's still giving me a thumbs up. All right. So that's all the yarn I have to talk about. Oh, I was going to show you how much yarn was left from my Shawlography. I had a pretty even amount of colors A, C, D, and E. So everything but B. So B was my Saginaw Sunset color. That's what I had the least of left. That's this little guy, which is one of the reasons I was weighing my yarn to find out how much yarn each stripe took. I wanted to make sure I had enough, and I had plenty. I think it takes like 3 grams of yarn. But my others, I used more than half, definitely, but I still have a pretty decent amount of the other colors left. Those are going to go into something. I don't know what. Oh, so this is the black pearl that I was talking about. So that's the Dream in Color black pearl. This is the, what do they call it? Smoky diamond? No, midnight pearl. So in a pinch, it would work for sure. Cora, let me see. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the compliment. I do have things to tell you though about upcoming events. I just wanted to warn you that I'm done talking about yarn, but I may not be. Depends on how scattered I get, but I have notes. Coming up this weekend. So for those of you who are local, you may know about Holidays in the Heart of the City. So that's what downtown Saginaw does to celebrate the beginning of the holiday season. There's a parade, they do like a light show, fireworks, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of events going on Friday and Saturday. The parade on Saturday comes right past our building on Washington. So I really want to make sure that you know that it starts at 11. And I don't remember how long they block the road off. Well, because I'm usually just hanging out in the shop if I'm around, not out front. But if you're thinking about coming down on Saturday, just keep that in mind in terms of how you're working your way around. You should be able to go down a couple blocks and then come back north on Water Street. They have promised that they will make it so there is parking on market days, no matter what, but I don't know. So also this weekend, Svrc Marketplace is hosting a holiday makers market. So they did that in the spring and it was phenomenal. I think any opportunity to get makers able to be out and back selling their items is good. It just doesn't happen very much. So they're actually doing 2 days of it this year. So Friday and Saturday, 10 to 5, both days. Upstairs in the ballroom, which holds, I think she's got over 40 vendors that are going to be up there. She is Rachel, who is the marketplace manager that handles all this. There will be some pop-up vendors on our floor. And on Saturday, downstairs in the press room, in the lower level, is a kids, gosh, I wish I could remember what they called it. Basically, it's a young entrepreneurs market. So same sort of thing, but for the younger generation, which I think is fantastic. So if you are around and aren't scared by the parking and traffic situation, come in and check it out. If you haven't been to the shop, yes. Okay, so yeah, maybe you haven't noticed. See, I told you I wasn't done talking about yarn. My wall behind me. So for a long time, I've had the top row is my Cascade Heritage, was fingering weight, commercially dyed solids, range from $11 to $11.99, and I had them kind of in my own rainbow way. I decided when I got back the other day, it would be a good idea to yank all the rest of the yarn off the wall and try and organize it in a similar colorway. Prior, I had like Malabrigo sock, Dream in Color, Smushy with Cashmere, Ridiculous, the sparkles. Now it's more color coordinated, which I think is going to be a little bit easier to shop, especially if you are looking for a specific color. Like if you find a green and you go, what? That's not green. I like this green, but I want a different green. And so then we try and find you a different green, but it's on the opposite end of the wall. So then we have to kind of dig around for things. Now, all of that's going to be in a similar area. So I just think it looks more cohesive. So you all will have to tell me what you think too, between seeing it on the live and coming in and checking it out. But I'm pretty happy with how it looks. I think it looks less chaotic behind me too. So that's good. So the next week is Thanksgiving. I cannot, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that it's going to be Thanksgiving already. Oh, Melissa, thank you. Thank you, Mom. So we are closed on Thanksgiving Day. We will be open Black Friday and Small Business Saturday. To my knowledge, it's going to be the same hours as usual. So 10 to 6, both days next weekend. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do. I know for sure I will be doing my gift card promotion like I have done in the past. So make sure your loved ones know that starting on Black Friday, I run a promotion usually for 2 weeks. I may be forgiving and run it a little bit longer because it's such a great thing. But so what's the promotion? The promotion is for every $50 in for every $50 gift certificate you purchase, you get an extra $10 of what I call fiber funds. So fiber funds are like Kohl's Cash, essentially free money that can be spent in a certain amount of time. So the fiber funds are good only in January, but there is no limit. So you buy $500 worth of gift cards and you can get whatever that is, $100 worth of fiber funds. Is that right? That's a pretty good deal. Yeah. Sometimes my math is not quite right. So just remember that the fiber funds are only good in January, but I have plenty of customers that will come in and buy gift certificates for themselves. So I don't want to discount that either. If you have somebody or if you don't have somebody that will buy them for you, buy them for yourself. Our standard shop gift certificates do not expire. Can we call and purchase? Yes, Cheryl, you can call and purchase gift cards over the phone. Last year, I was able to do something on the website as well. I need to look into that. Last year on Thanksgiving Day is when I got sick with COVID. So very quickly, the shop was closed for 2 weeks and we had to kind of come up with some alternate solutions. So I think I had it set up and hopefully I can go back and kind of reactivate. So it's on the website too, but absolutely you can call, do it over the phone. I'd be happy to do that. Let me see, did I miss anything else? Cora, Vicky. See, Melissa answered my question too. I know you can buy gift cards on the website right now, but it won't give you that. It won't automatically give you that $10. So I need to make sure that I handle all that starting Black Friday. I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to do for Cyber Monday. I did create an event on Facebook for Cyber Monday. So I'm toying around with a couple different ideas, but if you go there and say you're either interested or going to that event, you can, you'll get notified when I put things on there, when I post on there as I get updates about what I'm going to do. Malcolm, can the receiver spend a gift card and a fiber fund in the same purchase? Absolutely. I really don't put any restrictions on the gift cards other than you can't use a gift card to buy a gift card. But yes, yeah, Melissa said in January, yes. I'm looking at all my notes. I think that's everything. You guys, I'm so scattered. So I do apologize about that. This is definitely for the shop. It's our busy time of year. For my life, it's my busy time of year. Victoria's birthday is the first part of December. Her 16th birthday is in a couple weeks. So we're still trying to figure out what we're doing. But so clearly my mind is in 100 different directions, but I always make time for all of you, and I appreciate all of you making time for me. It means a lot to me that you join me every Monday, and I did miss you all last week. I was enjoying my Mai Tai though. All right. I hope everybody has a good week. I hope I've inspired you to start something or complete something or just keep going on what you're doing. I love being a part of your evenings, your Monday evenings. I will see you back here. Oh, Diane says early happy birthday to her. I will pass that on. And I will see you all back here next Monday. And I'll have a lot more details about promotions coming up too, for sure. All right. Have a good night.